Good morning everyone, and welcome to another awesome video by Mr. Pang. Now this video will concentrate on a review of the 4 synthesis items we've covered in term 3. Are you ready? Then let's remember the 2 rules of learning: posture and focus. Now before we begin, I would like you to put away every other item or object that you are playing around with or holding and give your full attention to the video that is about to begin. Alright, let's get started. As you will remember, we have covered 4 synthesis items in units 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I will begin with the unit 7 synthesis item, who. Now as you can see, who is used to identify a subject by its or their actions or characteristics. And it answers the simple question of who. So the action is linked to a subject. Alright, so it's important to identify the subject. Now let's take a look at the first example. Mr. Pang is my teacher. Mr. Pang likes to burp loudly. Now can anyone tell me who the subject of this sentence is? That's right, it's Mr. Pang. Now, how do I use the connector who to link Mr. Pang to the identity that Mr. Pang has? That's right. Mr. Pang, who is my teacher, likes to burp loudly. Can you see that is my teacher is linked to Mr. Pang? So always remember to look at the part of the sentence that answers the question who. Who is Mr. Pang? He is my teacher. So is my teacher will follow the connector who. Did you get that? Good. Let's move on to the next example. Take a look at the second example. Now this is quite exciting. Jaden and Aiden are from Sin-Min. Jaden and Aiden are flying. Let's begin by identifying the subject of the sentence. In this case, there's more than one. Who are the subjects of the sentence? You're right, it's Jaden and Aiden. Jaden and Aiden, who are from Sin-Min, are flying. As you can see, Jaden and Aiden are identified by the fact that they are from Sin-Min. So Jaden and Aiden, who are from Sin-Min, what are they doing? Are flying. Did you get that? Excellent. So again, to summarize, who is used to identify a subject by its actions or characteristics and answers the question who. Who is Mr. Pang? Mr. Pang is my teacher. So is my teacher follows the connector who. Who are Jaden and Aiden? They are from Sin-Min. So are from Sin-Min follows the connector who. And the action comes after that. Mr. Pang likes to burp loudly. Jaden and Aiden are flying. I hope this makes the connector who a little clearer to you. Now let's move on to the second connector in unit 8. And that's because. Now because is a connector that's used to supply a reason for an action and answers the question why. Very simply, why? So let's look at an example to explore this further. Somebody ate Akshaya's cookies. Oh dear. Akshaya is furious. Now, between these two sentences, which one answers the question why? Is it Akshaya is furious? No. Akshaya is furious, and we need to find out the reason why. That's right, somebody ate Akshaya's cookies. That's why Akshaya is furious. So how do we connect the two using why? Let's do this. Akshaya is furious because somebody ate Akshaya's cookies. Is that right? I can almost hear you say no. Excellent. What's wrong? Yes, Akshaya is repeated. Can you see that the name Akshaya occurs at the beginning of the sentence and again in the middle? Now we know that one of the rules of synthesis is that whenever a subject is repeated, we have to change the second occurrence to a pronoun. Now, Akshaya, hello Akshaya, is a girl. So we need to change Akshaya's to a pronoun that shows that the cookies belongs to her. So somebody ate her cookies. Now this is very important. We need to have the correct pronoun. If I change this to the wrong pronoun, then the entire answer is wrong. So remember, in why questions, we need to remember to both join the sentences as well as to change the second subject to a possessive pronoun, or a pronoun that tells you that something belongs to your subject. In this case, the cookies belong to Akshaya, so they are her cookies. Got it? Very good. Let's move on to the next question, shall we? Jiaxuan and Jermaine were freezing. Jiaxuan and Jermaine sneezed loudly. So now we need to ask ourselves, which of these two sentences answers the why question? So why? Why were Jiaxuan and Jermaine sneezing loudly? Yes, that's right. It's because they were freezing. So Jiaxuan and Jermaine were freezing will come after my connector. Why? Because. So let's go ahead and do this. Jiaxuan and Jermaine sneezed loudly because, and now I need to take a look at the repeated subject of Jiaxuan and Jermaine. And remember, I can't put them in again because they're repeated. So I've got to replace them with a possessive pronoun. And in this case, the pronoun I use will not be the same as the one I used before because there are two of my dear pupils in this sentence. So now I need to use the possessive pronoun they were freezing. Now take note here that you must be very, very careful because when you transfer your answers, the tense of the sentences must remain the same. Many of you are a little careless, so you might change were to are, and the moment you do that, you've changed the meaning of the sentence and it will be wrong. So always remember to check that you have followed the tense of the questions, that you have replaced your subjects with a possessive pronoun, and that you have spelt every word correctly. Even a letter out of place in synthesis can mean the difference between a mark and none at all. Alright, so to summarize once again, for because we are using this connector to supply a reason for an action. So why is Akshaya furious? Because somebody ate her cookies, right? Why are Jiaxuan and Jermaine sneezing loudly? Because they were freezing, alright? So, very simply, It's used to supply a reason for an action. And always identify the part of the sentence that follows the connector because by asking the question why. Alright, you are doing very well. Let's move on to the next connector, which is in Unit 9, and that's OR. OR is used to present a choice between two different options or activities. Shout out to Caleb, and shout out to Primary 3 swimming program. So pretend we are all in the pool, and Caleb has a choice. Caleb can jump into the pool. He can also dive into the pool. I hope you know the difference between the two. Alright? Jumping is more like a cannonball. Diving is more graceful. Alright? So Caleb can jump into the pool. Caleb can also dive into the pool. So let's go ahead and put the subject of the sentence in first. Caleb can... Now what can Caleb do? Caleb can jump or dive, that's right, into the pool. And again, because both sentences have repeated words, I do not include the repeated words into the pool twice. And I only use Caleb once. So remember, repeated words do not get transferred into the answer. So Caleb can jump or dive into the pool. He has two choices. So it's quite simple. I need to look at the two different choices and transfer them on either side of the connector OR. Let's look at the next example. Would you like a laptop? Would you like a desktop computer more? So I'm giving you a choice now, and you can decide. So once again, I can follow the stem of the question. Would you like a laptop or a desktop computer? Right? So or in this case refers to an object, a laptop or a desktop computer. So notice the difference between the two examples. I can either provide a choice of activity, in this case jump, dive, or a choice of objects, laptop or desktop computer. Now be very careful whenever you are handling objects like laptops, desktop computers, that you do not forget that little connector that is attached to it. Now it is important that you not omit or the in the answers, because otherwise you would have changed the structure of the sentence and that will be wrong. So would you like a laptop or a desktop computer? You cannot cancel these two even though they are repeated, because they are part of the noun. A laptop, a desktop computer. Alright, be very careful when you transfer your answers that you do not forget a, an, or the, because they accompany your object. Alright, you're doing very well. So let's summarize again. Or is used as a connector to present a choice between two different options or activities. And finally, let's move on to our last connector in Unit 10, what we've just covered recently, which is which. Alright, now which and who share many common characteristics. They are both used to identify nouns, but in the case of who, they're used to identify, that's right, people, right, people. So Mr. Pang, who is your teacher, is very handsome, right? So who identifies a person, whereas which is usually used for objects. So you would not use which to identify Mr. Pang, you would use which to identify Mr. Pang's bag or the table, right? These are objects. So remember, which is used to identify an object, and usually this object has a characteristic or is performing an action and answers the question which. Let's take a look, alright? So in this case, Ingrid is going to pluck some durians, alright? The durians are in Mrs. Tan's farm. Shout out to Mrs. Tan. Hope she's having a good holiday. So let's take a look here. Let's go ahead and plug in the stem of the sentence. Ingrid is going to pluck some durians. And now I need to ask myself, which durians are these? Are these durians found somewhere else? Or are they special durians that are only found in Mrs. Tan's farm? That's right, they're only found in Mrs. Tan's farm. So Ingrid is going to pluck some durians which are in Mrs. Tan's farm. Notice I have omitted this entire front part of the sentence because the durians are already represented here. So I do not want to repeat the word durians again. So Ingrid is going to pluck some durians which are in Mrs. Tan's farm. So this tells me which durians they are. Not just any durians in the world, but the durians which are in Mrs. Tan's farm. So remember, the part of the sentence which identifies which objects I am talking about must always follow the connector which. Let's take a look at the second example, just to confirm our understanding of this connector. The girls are fighting a crocodile, right? They're fighting the crocodile. And it's not just any crocodile. Which crocodile is it? Yes, that's right. It's Mr. Pang's pet. Oh dear, Mr. Pang has a pet crocodile. So let's go ahead and fill in the stem. The girls are fighting the crocodile, which is Mr. Pang's pet. Alright, once again, this identifies which crocodile it is. Not just any crocodile, but the crocodile which is Mr. Pang's pet. So the girls are fighting it. Well done, girls. I hope you win. Alright, are there any questions? Message me if there are, but let me just do a quick summary once again of the connector which is used to identify an object by its actions or characteristics. Alright, in the case of the durians, they are the durians in Mrs. Tan's farm. In the case of the crocodile, it is the crocodile which belongs to Mr. Pang as Mr. Pang's pet. Alright, so either by its actions or by its characteristics is how you use the connector which. Alright, so it's quite similar to how you use the connector who, except that remember, who is used for people and which is generally used for objects. Alright, are there any questions? If there are, please drop me a message in the Edmodo message bar. Otherwise, happy revision and watch out for my next video, which I'll be posting tonight on the other grammar features that we've covered in Term 3. Have a great afternoon ahead. Watch this video as many times as you like, and remember to review, review, review. All of your examples and all of the more extended explanations can also be found in your unit booklets. Thank you and goodbye everyone.